Welcome to the Anger Management Orientation for Georgia Reentry Center. My name is Desiree Cochran Norfolk. I'm an addiction counselor and I do anger management, family violence, parenting, life skills, the list goes on. I am certified by the Georgia Addiction Counselors Association as a certified clinical supervisor, certified master addiction counselor, certified addiction counselor in level 2. I'm also certified by the Florida Board Certification Board as a master counselor or master certified addiction professional. My undergrad is in criminal justice and public policy through Georgia State University, and I also have a master's in addiction counseling through Liberty University. I have been counseling since 2017. And so today, what we're going to do first, why is orientation important? Well, that's kind of to help you understand the process of enrollment and treatment and completion. And it helps to explain what the program is and how it works. The rules and expectations, kind of help you understand the basics of anger management and give you a foundation before you start your groups. The goals of the anger management group are to learn to manage your anger, stop violence or the threat of violence, develop and strengthen some skills for self-control over your thoughts and actions, and receive some support and feedback from others. We're here to help you with your recovery, your education, and provide some mutual support in a group setting. We're going to keep the environment confidential and safe. As counselors, we're going to uphold your confidentiality, but there are some exceptions to that. We are mandated reporters. This means that we are required by law to report any instances of suspected child abuse or elder abuse, or if anybody's having any homicidal or suicidal thoughts. Or lastly, if you sign a release of information that gives myself or the administrative staff permission to report things to someone else, like a probation officer, your employer, your caseworker, your spouse, your mama, whomever. We do ask that what is said in group stays in group. Don't go back and tell your mama, your brother, your sister, your cousins, your friends what was said in the group. You are expected to keep the identities of everyone in here and their stories to yourself forevermore. If you do happen to see me in the community, I will not address you. I'm not doing that to be mean or rude. I do that to protect your confidentiality. If I wave and say hello and you happen to be with someone, then they're bound to ask, who's that? Then you're going to have to explain that I'm your counselor, and then that would reveal your status as a client. But I will be more than happy to say hello if you address me first, though. As I am in the role of your counselor, there are a few limits to how we may interact outside of this group setting. We are not allowed to have dual relationships with clients. This means that I cannot accept gifts from you and I cannot give you gifts. I can't let you borrow money and I can't borrow money from you. I can't hire you to clean my house or fix my car or cut down trees. I can't accept any friend requests from you on social media, and I will not look you up on social media, and I'll expect the same courtesy in return. If we have an issue arise, please address it with me personally. If we can't resolve the issue, please contact me and we can address the situation further. In the most general sense, anger is a feeling or an emotion that ranges from mild irritation to intense fury and rage. Anger is a natural response to those situations where we feel threatened or we believe harm has come to us or we believe that another person has unnecessarily wronged us. We may also become angry when we feel another person, like a child or someone close to us, is being threatened or harmed. Anger can be this positive emotion. Maybe it's a moral response to an injustice or a rational response to a threat. And it can be expressed in assertive and productive ways. In addition, anger can result from frustration when our needs and our desires and our goals are not being met. And when we become angry, we may lose our patience and act impulsively, aggressively, or maybe violently. And people often confuse anger with aggression. Aggression is the behavior that's intended to cause harm to another person or damage property. And this behavior can include verbal abuse, threats, or maybe violent acts. Anger, on the other hand, is an emotion and doesn't necessarily lead to aggression. So a person can become angry without acting aggressively. A term related to anger and aggression is hostility. And hostility is going to refer to a complex set of attitudes and judgments that motivate aggressive behaviors. Whereas anger is an emotion and aggression is a behavior, hostility is an attitude that involves disliking other people and evaluating them negatively. So in these lessons, you're going to learn some helpful strategies and skills to manage your anger, express your anger in constructive ways, solve your problems, change some hostile attitudes, and prevent aggressive acts like verbal or violence. So one technique that's helpful in increasing the awareness of anger is learning to monitor it. A simple way to monitor your anger is to use what's called the anger meter. A 1 on the anger meter is going to represent a complete lack of anger or a total state of calm, whereas a 10 is going to represent intense anger, along with that feeling that you might lose control. And that leads to negative consequences. So points between the 1 and the 10 are going to represent feelings of anger between those extremes. And the purpose of the anger meter is to monitor the escalation of anger as it's moving up the scale. So for example, when a person encounters an anger-provoking event, they don't reach a 10 immediately. Sometimes it feels like that, but they're not reaching it immediately. In reality, the individual's anger is starting at a low number and then rapidly moving up that scale. But there's always time, provided that you've learned the proper coping skills, there's always time to stop that anger from escalating to a 10. You can go anywhere up to a 9 and turn around before there's any consequences. But it's important for you to understand that a 10 is reserved for instances when you begin to lose control and suffer, or maybe other people could suffer negative consequences. An example might be when a person angrily threatens an intimate partner and the partner moves out, or when an individual assaults another person and is arrested by the police. And a second point to make here about the anger meter is that people may interpret the numbers on the scale differently. So what may be a 5 for one person could be a 7 for someone else. It's much more important to personalize this anger meter and become comfortable and familiar with your own individual readings of the numbers on the scale. But just keep in mind that a 10 is reserved for instances when somebody starts to lose control and they suffer or they could suffer negative consequences. This program is set up to be once a week for anger management, and how many weeks you do will be depending on your assessment or recommendations. Each group is to last an hour and a half, and being on time is important. Late entry will not be permitted and will be counted as an absence. If you are more than 10 minutes late, you will be counted as absent. If you do come to the group late and remain in the group until the end, it won't be counted as an absence toward you, but it also won't count towards your required groups. So you can come late and stay for the group, but it just won't count towards your required groups, but it also won't be an absence against you. We call this auditing. If you miss more than 3 groups in a row, you will be at risk of termination from the program and have to start the process all over again. You are only permitted 5 total absences for the program. At that point, you will be at risk of termination from the program and may have to start your groups over again or have another assessment. So let's talk a little bit about the format. I am here to help you learn more about yourself and decide whether there's any changes that you want to make. I have the knowledge and the skills to help you, but if there's any changing to be done, you're going to have to be the one to do it. The responsibility for change is up to you. I will not coerce you or try to force you to change in any way. I am the facilitator, but you guys also play an important role in helping the other group members as you're all going through this process together. So in the group, we do avoid confrontation and we help each other by being supportive and respectful. We understand that we've each walked our own path, so we don't try to be the expert about another person's life or choices. In our groups, we do discuss different topics related to anger management, and you will be given the opportunity to explore and discuss your own behaviors and your thoughts and beliefs about them. And as a group member, you will be expected to contribute to the discussion. You'll be expected to take what you're learning in these groups and apply it to your everyday life, and you are expected to do the homework and report back on your homework the next group session. So there is a need for some basic group rules to help keep the group cohesive. And, I've found that these group rules here are helpful in establishing a safe environment where clients feel free to participate. So these are the rules. Respect yourself and others in the group. Refrain from interrupting or talking while other people are talking. Refrain from using electronic devices during in-person groups. Avoid put downs of of yourself or all others or name calling. Be willing to listen without becoming aggressive or defensive. Maintain confidentiality outside of the group. Maintain abstinence of all substances. Do not attend any sessions if you have used any intoxicating or mood-altering illegal substances. And if you are on medication, please inform the facilitator of the group before group starts. Be on time and stay the entire group. No violent behavior or language. Group participation is a must. And if there's any additional rules that you'd like to add, please let us know. And just understand that violation of any of these rules may result in removal from the group. A couple of group rules to go over. We do worry about group safety, so no violence or threats towards staff or other group members are allowed. It is important that you are perceiving the group as a safe place to share your experiences and feelings without threats or possible physical harm. Again, with the confidentiality, don't discuss anything outside a group what the other group members say during the group sessions. And just understand that there are limits to our confidentiality as counselors, and we have to make sure that if there are any reports of child or elder abuse, or if you're homicidal or suicidal, then we do have to report that. Also, if anybody has any physical or mental limitations and there's been abuse reported, we have to report that as well. And similarly, if a group member makes a credible threat or to physically harm or kill another person, the group leader is required under the Tarasoff ruling to warn the intended victim and notify the police. We do between session challenges, which is what I call homework. These are just brief assignments that will be given every week. And doing the between session challenges is just going to improve your anger management skills and allow you to get the most from the group experience. So like any type of skill acquisition, anger management requires time and practice. And these assignments are going to provide the opportunity for skill development and refinement. Again, with the absences and cancellations, make sure that you call or notify the leader in advance when you can't attend a session. You can't miss any more than 3 in a row or 5 of the total sessions while you're in this program. You may have to start over, and it prevents you from being able to adequately learn and practice and apply the concepts and the skills that are necessary for effective anger management. In these groups, the number one skill and tool that is required is a timeout, and the group leader reserves the right to call for a timeout. And you may be familiar with this term timeout from sporting events. So for example, when a football team feels that it's not making any progress, the team takes a timeout and then regroups. And so we use this term in a similar way. If a group member's anger begins to escalate out of control during a session, the leader is just going to ask that member to take a timeout from the topic and the discussion. That means that the member, along with the rest of the group, will immediately stop talking about the issue that's causing the member's anger to escalate. If the member's anger has escalated to the point that they can't tolerate sitting in the group, I can ask, or the leader can ask the person to leave the group for about 5 to 10 minutes until they can cool down. And if I need to, we can put you in the waiting room, and then the member is then welcome back, provided that they can tolerate continued discussion in the group. A timeout is a really effective anger management strategy, and we discuss more about that in the sessions, but it's really just about going and distracting yourself or calming yourself down and then coming back. Eventually, you're going to learn to call a timeout yourself when you feel like you're losing control as the result of escalation of your anger. But for these sessions, it's essential that the leader calls the timeout and that you comply with that rule. And the rule ensures that the group is going to be a safe place to discuss and share experiences and feelings. And so any failure to comply with the timeout rule may lead to termination from the group itself. To cover relapses, if a group member has a relapse during enrollment in the group, they're not discharged, but if the group member has repeated relapses, they may be asked to start the treatment again or may be referred to more intensive treatment settings. So here are a couple of resources for you. If you need any resources whatsoever, 211 is the United Way. You can call 211 on your phone or Google the 211 website, and you can get any resources that are in the community. They have all of that information, from housing to job skills development classes to employment services, addiction services, mental health services, everything you need down to a toothbrush. They also have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week hotline that has licensed mental health clinicians that you can speak to if you are feeling homicidal or suicidal. 988 is also a suicide helpline, 1-800-SUICIDE, 1-800-662-HELP is another one, or if the teen text line is 55753. If you want to text and you are a teenager and you're having mental health emergencies, you can, or ideations, you can talk to them. And of course, and always 911 if there is an emergency. There are some websites out here. If you are looking for any meetings for 12-step groups, you can go to alcoholicsanonymous.org, narcoticsanonymous.org. There's other places where you can find addiction recovery related resources, which is the National Rehab Hotline.org, SAMHSA.gov, NIDA.nih.gov. And then, of course, I put my website up here, which is GeorgiaReentryCenters.com. On this website, we have various resources in the community. On our resources page, we also have a forum where you can talk with the other group members outside of group to kind of share if you're having cravings, or to network with other people, share your business, share recovery friendly related places or events, or even felon friendly employment opportunities or things like that. So that's what that forum is for. And there's also other courses up there on the website under the courses tab, where you can take courses such as productivity, self-discipline, developing confidence and charisma, anger, keeping your anger in check, communication, things like that. There's some other books and articles and apps that may be helpful to you. There's 2 books. One is called Unbroken Brain and the other is Rewired. Great reads. And there's some recovery-related apps that you can download. One is I Am Sober, another is WeConnect, and another is Sober Grid. And this is just to help enhance the treatment. So just the next steps here. You want to make sure that you join the meeting about 5 minutes ahead of time if you're on Zoom. You want to get there about 10 minutes ahead of time if we're in person, and be sure to click on the link in the chat box to sign in if you're on the Zoom meeting. If you can't pay, you can still come to group that week, and you can carry a balance for 2 weeks, but you can't have any more than 2 weeks or 2 group fees in arrears. So that would be no more than $80 balance, or longer than carrying that balance for 2 weeks. If you do have a balance of more than 2 weeks or 2 group fees, you can continue to come to groups, but they're not going to be counted towards your required groups. We call that auditing, and so they're not going to count toward the required groups, but you can still come and get the material that we're presenting in group that week. You should have received an email with the required documents. Please be sure to click on each link and fill out all of the required fields in each one of those forms. Make sure to hit submit when you've completed the form. Please use the document submission link to submit any additional documents like court orders, evaluations, TPOs, bond requirements, or bond modifications, TPO modifications, etc. Basically anything that we have requested from you, or if you think that we may need it. If you had an evaluation through another source, we're required to have that evaluation. So you can either submit it through that document portal, Or you can fill out the consent of release of information for us to release information to that evaluator so that we can request the evaluation from them. So we also need you to fill out the consent form for all parties that you wish us to release information to. So this can include your probation officer, your pretrial officer, your attorney, your employer, your SAP, any other interested parties that you think that we may need to reach out to or speak with. We have to have a different form has to be filled out for each person that we're releasing information to. So you can fill that form out multiple times if necessary. Also, in the email that you received, you're going to see the Zoom schedule for our online groups. The instructions to get in Zoom are also included in the email. So please be sure to make your payment before group each week. So if you have any questions or comments or concerns, please feel free to reach out to us via email, text message, cell phone, which was located in the email that you received from us. And I hope this has answered most of your questions, but if you still have any more questions, please feel free to call or text or email.